I think what a lot of folks look at this process and kind of wonder why the House, just from your own strategy, why did you let this process get out of your hands, out of your control? You could have harnessed it. You could have gone through the system. You could have pushed for these witnesses and said, we don't really care how long it takes. We understand that it's our duty to investigate this situation, and we will turn it over when our case is good and ready.
Well, I believe the case we sent is good and ready, and that it's worthy of impeaching the president for putting his personal interests over our national interests, Martha. But what I'm saying is that for senators who are saying that you still don't have firsthand information, well, you have witnesses like John Bolton who would come forward. He wouldn't come forward, by the way, when we asked him to come forward. He was playing games in the courts, and we didn't have time to waste with an election coming that the president was trying to rig.
Yeah, but it was so urgent. I remember you talked to me about that. Hold on. You said it was so urgent, right? Then there was a 4-week lull, 33-day lull in between. So if it was so urgent and you were so worried that the president was going to, wreak havoc on the coming election, why was there that big gap? And again, if that's the case, why not push for those witnesses like Mulvaney, who I know is also very important to Democrats, when you had control of the situation?
It wasn't urgent to see the Senate rig the outcome. It was urgent for us to protect the upcoming presidential election. But if Mitch McConnell is saying that he's essentially not going to allow witnesses, we were going to do all we could to make sure the public understood what that would mean. And I think we're in the best shot possible for them to vote for witnesses. But I want to address one of your points, because I think it's worthy of asking if what you say is true, that the Democrats should not have gone through the way that we did, and we should have waited and gone for the witnesses. If that's true, are you saying that now that it's in the Senate, even if those witnesses are relevant and could provide damaging information against the president, you should just punish the Democrats and not hear from them? I mean, that doesn't make sense to me either.
I'm not saying either way. I'm just sort of assessing the way this whole thing has played out. And the truth of the matter is that essentially now you have the defense in control of this part of the courtroom drama. And I know we're not in a courtroom, but, essentially now you have Senate is in control of Republicans. That is just what it is. And they get to call the shots. So it makes it less likely that your side is going to get what you want. It's not the president's team's responsibility to prove him innocent. It's the other side's burden to prove that he's guilty. That's just the way that these things tend to work.
Yes, and if the senators truly want to give the American people a fair trial and show that this president did not jeopardize national security, then what is the harm in allowing these witnesses to come forward? And it's not like Mr. Schiff's not asking for those witnesses to come forward. He's putting motions forward to ask them to come forward. And I just think that trials have witnesses, and that if this trial does not have witnesses, it's a cover-up for the president.
Yeah. So if you went into court, I'm not an attorney, but if you went into court and you were defending your client, would you say at this stage of the game, well, let's start introducing new witnesses and let's try to make a real effort here to prove that you're innocent? Or would you just say, look, here's what we've got. The case is in front of us. The evidence is the evidence. And, we need to move forward. Would you advise your client, what, let's open it up. Let's start to add new information to this trial process. Let's start to bring in new people to, voice their opinion. Is that what you would advise?
Donald Trump is entitled to the best defense possible. What I would advise Senator McConnell, though, who is a separate branch of government, is to allow those witnesses to come forward and then make their own judgment. This should not be up to Donald Trump. Mitch McConnell should say, John Bolton, if you want to come in, here's your subpoena, come in, and then let them decide whether this president put his own interests above the